Hockey friends and families, we are heading towards the end of the season, which means a lot. The playoffs, the postseason, and of course, your favorite evals and tryouts. And we always like to let you know that our title sponsor, NHL Sense Arena, has some great solutions for you to help. It helps to train hockey IQ. It's not just another training tool, right? It's not just something you're going to leave in the basement. The kids love to use it. My kids love to use it. My son, who is a goaltender, uses this to get ready to play in his games. And he has told me that this has helped him dramatically, not just prepare for the game, but to see the puck better, to feel better on the ice. You know, whether it's that or Hockey IQ via their Dangle Pro system, which we've done a lot of videos about, or their Game Flow system for goaltenders, it's really become part of both of my kids' routine to get ready to play. They're more confident, they feel more prepared, and they're just less overwhelmed when the game speeds up, which is something really cool. So we know you hear about this before every episode. If you're still on the fence, just note that now is the lowest price of the year that they do. It's $299 for an annual plan. That's $25 a month for all their skater and goaltender drills. No matter what your kid plays, there's something in this system for them, and they're always adding new stuff. I know they have something coming out in March, which is really exciting. Check it out. Again, go to nhl.sensorina.com/OKPH. Again, nhl.sensorina.com/OKPH, and use the code OKPH for an extra $25 off that already discounted price. NHL Sensorina, always looking out for you, looking out for us. Take a minute, check it out. It'll be worth your time. And then come back here and enjoy this episode of Our Kids Play Hockey. Hello, hockey friends and families around the world, and welcome to another episode of Our Kids Play Hockey. I'm Lee Elias, joined as always by my co-hosts Mike Benelli and Christy Casciano-Burns, who, for those of you not watching, is in the newsroom this morning. Hazard of the job. We say it, she moonlights as a full-time news anchor, which she's been doing just a little bit longer than this show. So we're gonna let her have it today. But for those of you watching, you can see she has the coolest background in the world today. But here's the thing. Our guest today played nearly a decade in the NHL, winning both the Stanley Cup with the Anaheim Ducks and representing Team USA at the World Championships. He's now a TV analyst for the Minnesota Wild, co-host of the Wild on 7th podcast, and a partner at ETS Performance, one of the leading youth athlete training programs in the U.S., helping thousands of young players reach their full potential physically and mentally, something we love to talk about on this show. So today, we're going to talk about his journey from youth hockey in Minnesota all the way to the NHL and what he's learned about performance and mindset and how he's helping the next generation of players chase their dreams the right way, which is almost a description of this show, which is pretty cool. He's someone who embodies what it means to grow through hockey. Ladies and gentlemen, please help us welcome Ryan Carter to the show today. Ryan, welcome to Our Kids Play Hockey.
Hey, Lee. Wow, thank you. You found a way to make my bio actually seem long and credible. Yeah, I mean, usually it's just he's a hockey player. It's really that simple, and afraid to get out of the game a little bit. So I've done my best to stick around. But I appreciate you guys having me, and looking forward to this.
Ryan, I can do it again and just say,
Yeah, I like
here's a
that.
hockey guy. Ryan Carter's joining us today. No, it's
another Minnesota hockey guy we're talking to. Just,
Right.
Ryan, don't be modest. We're so impressed with your resume. It really is impressive. But we would love to hear from you where it all started. So if you could take us back to when you were a kid, when you were playing hockey, must have looked a lot different back then. And what an incredible rise you've had and sort of a different trajectory for you.
Yeah, hey, I won't blame you for that shot at my age and how hockey looked a lot different back then, but you're absolutely right. Because one of the first photos of me playing actually was at the rink, Learn to Skate, where we would like push a folding chair, like a metal folding chair around. And in the background, it's wooden boards. It's an indoor building. It's called the Hippodrome in White Bear Lake, Minnesota. Wooden boards. And then the glass was actually just fencing. So just this little guy with snot coming down his nose, gear way too big, swimming in his jersey, pushing a chair around. And for some reason, I don't know why, I liked it. And I kept going back time after time. But yeah, it all started kind of there. And for me, I'll elaborate just quickly on why and how I fell in love with the game of hockey. Nobody in my family's ever played. My dad can't skate. My mother, nobody on her side played, but they picked the right neighborhood. And I always call myself a product of my environment more than anything else. So we butted up against a cul-de-sac. So I had two neighbors in the back, and in the middle, some of those neighbors had played hockey, and they put a rink in the backyard, and they had boys my age, and they'd be out there playing, and I'd just sit there in the window with my, you know, chin on my hand saying, "Ma, Dad, I want to go out there. I want to go out there." And I didn't have any hockey gear. They're like, "We don't know what to get you." And eventually I bugged them enough to where they're like, "If you promise you'll leave the house, we'll get you whatever you want." So they
Right.
got me the gear. And ironically, my dad, I threw a ball right-handed and I wrote right-handed. My dad, he got me a right-handed stick and I was using it the wrong way and he kept giving me a hard time. I was like, I don't know, I just use it the other way. So play left-handed. But that's where I got introduced to the game outside, just wanting to belong with the neighborhood guys.
I
Yeah,
wish
I
we
mean,
could bring back the
when
cul-de-sac.
you hear, yeah, when
Yeah.
you hear, White Bear Lake, it's like not a, like you said, you grew up in an environment like we hear though all the time. Like those communities are, synonymous with not only, success and development in this small little petri dish of hockey called Minnesota, right? I think it's actually amazing the amount of people we speak to on the show that come from these small communities and have success. But I think in your case, you had a unique path to the NHL. I mean, going undrafted, which is not unnormal. Like I think people think that's a normal thing. I mean, that's unnormal, but it's normal that you don't go undrafted. You played USHL, NCAA, Minnesota State, and eventually carving out a 10-year career. Can you tell us a little bit about that path, and because of your youth hockey upbringing and the environment you were in, what kind of lessons do you think you could give to today's player, from that, other than the wood boards and the chain link fence, opportunity you had in those other old great rinks. But what are some lessons you could give that you present now to the athletes you work with?
Yeah, good question. Really, really deep. I'll try to elaborate here and not go on a complete filibuster, but I think it depends on what the kids want to hear too, because every kid wants something different from playing the game of hockey, and whether you just enjoy it and you want to be with your friends and you want to compete, that's great. For me, I was that, but then at certain times growing up, I decided mentally like I actually want to be good at this, and I found like self-confidence and value in trying to put effort in, and I learned all these lessons from the game of hockey and kind of chose that area to do that. So I think it depends on what you're trying to tell a kid, from your experiences based on what they want to learn. But I could talk about what I was like growing up. And it's funny because Minnesota, the way hockey works, and I say I'm from White Bear Lake, and I think Minnesota has so much hockey pride. There's, maybe 30 cities of 20 to 25,000 people, maybe slightly bigger, that are suburbs of Minneapolis, St. Paul. And this doesn't do justice to the outstate too. Lots of great hockey communities outside of the Twin Cities, but Minnesotans, I feel, are the only ones that say the suburb that they're from. So I'll be in New York and they're like, "Where are you from?" And I'll say White Bear Lake, Minnesota. And I wholeheartedly believe that's a hockey thing, because you're proud to say you're from White Bear Lake. I'm not from Minneapolis. I'm not from St. Paul. Those are different hockey teams, and it's a credit to Minnesota and the way that they play hockey. It's you play for your community. It's not a city team. It's not a AAA team. You play community-based hockey, and that's what it was like, Christy, to your point, growing up. It was you play with your neighbors, you play with your schoolmates, and you go compete against the neighboring town. You know all the kids, you might skate with them on the rink outside, but those are the guys that you compete against. And then that's kind of how it went. Loved that, fell in love with that kind of way of hockey. And with that, I was on probably a slower development trajectory than some people. And Mike, if I'm saying, if you were to have asked the question, Ryan, why did you go undrafted? It's because I think I developed a really solid way with good foundation at the community level. Like I wasn't chasing teams, I wasn't chasing tournaments. Burnout was never part of the equation. It was, hey, just try to be the best you can be, on this team, on that team. And I made B teams, and then I'd make an A team, then I'd make a B team. Sophomore year of high school, which is a big deal in Minnesota, I was starting off on JV. So it wasn't the easy path, but Troy Ward coaching Mankato, now Minnesota State, where I played, he says it great. Development should be in a crock pot, not an instant pot. So, and I think that's kind of the path that I took. It was slow and steady, but with that, I was just kind of determined to be. And I got good advice from a coach on one of my B teams. He's like, I was upset I didn't make the A team, and it was, hey, it's simple. Just be the best where you are, or work to be the best where you are, and you'll probably make the next team that you want to make. So I
I,
didn't have like a long view. Yeah, I didn't have a long view on it.
yeah,
Oh, Christy, you muted yourself.
a crock pot and not an Instapot. Because I think so many parents now and kids want the Instapot formula. Um, can you still do it in a crock pot method these days? It
I
seems like it's a real struggle now.
I think you can, and I think the competitive advantage with that would be this. You're I think a lot of kids right now are in such a hurry to get where they want to go, but they actually don't know, and parents are with this too. They actually don't know what is required once you get there. And I think if you listen to people that have played in the NHL or gotten to these places, and I've got girls now, so the PWHL or women's college hockey, it's different once you get there. Like everybody's a good player, and you have great respect for everybody's talent. What starts to differentiate you is how you handle pressure, situations, a locker room. Can you be a good teammate? And it does come down to having talent on the ice, but I don't think you need to chase all of those things as much as you need to be slow and understand as a parent, and as a player, that when when it comes down to performing in the big moments, the things that get you what you would that maybe what you're chasing, which is the next opportunity, are the little things. It's character, it's having the confidence in pressure situations to still perform and to not fold. And I think you learn those things by playing at the adequate level where you have the opportunity to have puck touches and to be in those situations. So if it's between an A team and a B team, and if you're going to be on the A team and the person that's looked over in the final minute of a game, you can't expect yourself to be ready to play in that situation later on in life. So you should embrace the fact that, yes, I'd rather be on a B team right now and touch the puck and be in that situation so that I can learn how to handle it, what this face-off looks like, where I need to be, where we need to go. So I think for people that have the guts and the mental strength to say, yes, I want to do this in a crock pot, I think that it yields better results in the end.
Let me, can I just ask you something? I mean, based off, and Lee, I'm not going to take your question so much, but it really, what Ryan bringing up and is those separating attributes and the things that, give us elite players or not, right? Or give us the kid that can make the difference. And because like you just mentioned, like at some level, all the players are elite. They're all great. So what are they doing? So why is it though that we in our culture in youth hockey, we don't listen to any of that stuff? Like why are we fighting against it when everyone knows, every professional that works with kids every day. You do this every day with kids. You see it in the NHL as a player. You see it now in the broadcast booth. Interviewing players daily, right, and being with them all the time. Why is it that we have to fight it all the time? That it's not just common sense. Like, why is it that we're just everybody says, well, no, listen, Ryan Carter, he's one of 7,000 professionals that say this is the way it should be done, but yet we keep doing these other things. Is it really just money, or is it just greed, or what is it?
I actually think people, they get lost on what they're actually trying to accomplish, and it's really easy. It's a trap. You look at what you're actually competing for or against, and I think the reason that we chase all these opportunities and maybe we're afraid to take the slow path is because you're looking at somebody else. You're keeping up with the Joneses, and um, you're comparing yourself to somebody else, when in reality the only thing that you're competing against is what you see in the mirror. And if you and your family can be singularly focused on just being the best of you, the reflection in the mirror, and not worrying about what Johnny's doing, what Sarah's doing, whatever that is, and just say, how do I be better today? I think we eliminate a lot of these problems where people are chasing it and people are getting burnt out. I really do.
Yeah, I want to pull the thread on this, Mike. I appreciate that. We'll get to your NHL stuff soon. I know that's exciting.
Yeah,
But I want to
the hell with that NHL stuff. I got to
right,
hear about the
right.
secret
Well,
to finding the answer to this problem.
I agree with you. This is really good stuff.
Well, and Ryan, this is what I'll tell you. We've been doing this show a long time. And I know that when Mike, Christy, and I are all jumping at questions and talking over each other, that's a good thing. That means we're all invigorated with what you're saying. You know, I want to rewind back a little bit. First off, I think you gave one of the most concise and beautiful answers I've ever heard about the path, right? And we always talk about there is no one path. But I think, I got to commend you for that. We're definitely going to make that a micro clip. Here's the deal. I think it's important for our audience to understand. Yes, we're talking about his path in the NHL. We're also talking about his path on life. Okay. And that it's so important that everything you said about the slow cooker and taking time, finding good coaching, learning to deal with adversity, these are life skills too. And these are going to prepare your kid for life, whether they play hockey or not. I've always been vulnerable on this show. And it's like, I always like to tell people this because I get asked it in public, like, what? So you don't want your kids to make the NHL and the PWHL? Yeah, of course I daydream about, I'm a human being. Like, of course that would be amazing. But I put almost literally zero focus on that with the kids. And I don't daydream for long. Like, there's no parent watching their kid play that doesn't wonder, oh, maybe one day, right? That's like looking over the snow hill, of course. But that can't become the driving force of their journey, right? And Mike, you asked the question, there's so much FOMO. And here's the other part of it, right? When your kid makes a B team, Ryan, again, I'm the same age as you. I had somewhat of a similar journey, right? Kid makes the B team now, and I see parents that are like legit worried what other people will think about their kid making the B team. And the truth is this, it's just like being a kid. Nobody cares. Like, I don't go around being like, oh, that kid made the B, what a loser. Like, I don't do that. Right? And I don't think, to be fair, 99% of parents do that. And what's funny about, developing kids is that developing adults, it's a similar process. We always tell our kids, like, don't worry about what other people think about you, right? That's not what's important. And you just said it, right? Like, look in the mirror. Who do you want to be? Parents, adults, we are just as guilty of these things as the kids. We just are able to kind of say it more eloquently and push it away. I was just asked last night about the levels, AA, A, B. And I said, you should go where the best coach for your kid is, no matter what letter is behind that name, right? Because if your kid plays B and you have the greatest coach ever, he's going to learn more, or she's going to learn more that season than anybody else, especially if they're appropriately placed. So when I was growing up, and I'll tell this quick story, Ryan, and we'll throw it back to you too. I remember one year I did not make the team I wanted to make, and I was devastated. I was crying in the car home. And here's the thing. I remember my father was with me. He was upset too for me. But the thing I was told is, no, you're going to do this. That's where you were put. There was no fighting. There was no going back to the organization saying where I deserved to be. It was, you're going to live with the hand that was dealt. That is the correct, in my opinion, path. All right. Even if you feel like you were wronged, and then analyze your situation. Is there a good coach there? Right? Will your kid develop? Being placed correctly is more important than the damn letter after the team name.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Sorry, Ryan. I'm sure you have. Now I'm on the soapbox, right? Do you have things you want to comment on that?
And to be fair, B in Minnesota is a little different than B in other places, by the way. So, but again, it's just, but like, I think that is a great, like area to discuss, is just understanding that your path is your path. Right. And it's hard in the Facebook, Instagram, that I have to post, like Ryan, right? You never see the post of the losing score of the weekend tournament. You only see the post of the winning score of the weekend tournament. It's like, oh, what you're leaving me in suspense. What happened, on Sunday morning? But I think it's a crazy thing that we look and we are looking for validation in everybody else, except for, like you said, what's in the mirror. How do you validate what's in the mirror?
Right. And I just saw an example of this weekend. Friends of mine, their daughter was on a house team, and she was a rock star, just scoring all the time, lot of time touching the puck and scoring. And they got lured into going to a AAA team. Well, she's barely playing now. They're not thrilled with the coaching. She's not developing. So I think it's very easy for a parent to get caught up in that, the alphabet soup, the triple A title, the double A, rather than really focusing on what's best for developing your young child, especially.
Yeah. And so a couple thoughts on that. As a coach and as a parent, what I say to my girls is I can't create the want. Like I, as a player growing up, I wanted it so bad that I was willing to do all of these things. And you have to make those hard sacrifices. And I just had a conversation with my daughter because she's like, she really loved the team she was on last year, and the way in Minnesota they kind of turn over, so she kind of had to stay at her level. Everybody else graduated, and she's sad, and she now all of a sudden is like, I want to work at it this summer because I want to be good enough to be able to play with that group of people. And I was like, okay, there's some want there. Like, how are you going to get it? Like, it's going to be hard. What's the hard part? And she's like, well, I think I'm going to work extra hard and shoot more pucks and skate more and do this. And I was like, that's true, Natalie, that's true. And that stuff will help you. But sometimes the hard looks different too. It's picking the right food at the right time. It's picking the right friends and the right people to hang out with. It's those things are hard too. And I think it's important for kids to kind of learn those lessons. And Leah, I wanted to comment on something you mentioned too, because when you get caught from the team that you want to play, it's an opportunity for the kid to learn, like, what was this? And when you don't make the team that you made, it's not an indictment on the individual or the player. It's not saying you're not good enough to be on this team, right? And it's an opportunity, I think, for kids to learn how to mentally handle some of these tough spots, to say, all right, maybe the solution to what I wanted now was probably behavior in the past, and how do I apply that to the future? Could I have done something differently? Could I have behaved differently to a teammate? Could I have been more focused in practice? Could I have shot more pucks? And can I apply that in the future to get what I want going forward? You don't learn those lessons unless you face those tough moments, Lee. And I'm sure that, after you didn't make that team, it motivated you to put in work and change you. Yeah.
Yeah, again, the audience has heard the story enough, but yeah, it's. I've always said the years I didn't make the teams I wanted to ended up being some of the best years, because you talk about that one, it motivated me from the point of pain, right? The other thing too is that there was an accountability that you're talking about right now too. I'm not talking about me now, just in general. That I think one of the other things that's changed is that when I didn't make it, those were the questions you just said were the questions, right? Well, what can I do? What do I have control over that I can use to improve? And I think maybe it's more now than then. I don't know. I was a kid then, but now I hear, because I'm behind the scenes a lot more, not the accountability, but the reasons why my kid should be on this team, or the reasons why another kid shouldn't be on this team. I've heard that too. And it's not a very accountable thing, right? I would like to hear from parents and coaches and players, honestly, when a kid maybe isn't put someplace they're happy. From a coach, I want to hear, well, these are the things I want to see you improve on. I think that's another mistake, right? Is we'll put kids on a certain team, but we don't give them any guidance on, these are the things you need to work on. These are the things I want you to get better at, right? I'm talking about, the lower half of the youth level. And then from a parent standpoint, you're going to hurt too. If your kid gets cut and they wanted to make it, not cut, if your kid gets put on a team that you didn't want to be on and they hurt, you're going to hurt. But part of the parenting journey, in my opinion, is not appeasing their feelings by saying, well, you should have made it and that kid shouldn't have made it. I mean, that's, in my point, that's detrimental to your kid.
Mm-hmm.
All right. The narrative should be, hey, you didn't make it. It sucks. I'm feeling it with you. What can we do now to work on your game, to work on your mentality, to work on your endurance? What do we need to be accountable for? That is a habit that I'd like to see more families, more kids adopt, because over a 10-year youth hockey journey, you're going to build a resilient, strong person, whether they play hockey or not. And I think that's more valuable than almost anything. All right.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And again, I think that comes back to as a parent, you can't create the want. That's the
Right.
question is, what do you want from here? Do you want to do more work? Do you want to like change the way that you're doing things, or do you want to stay the same? Because all are possible options. And
Yeah.
um, young player, you can decide, but I can't decide this for you.
Right.
I can't say you didn't make this team. Now we're training more, 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 more. That's
Yeah.
not the answer, and I think that's what a lot of parents will get to, but it's not the answer.
Yeah. Ryan, what we say is, I can't create it. I can help you cultivate it, but I can't create it.
Yeah.
The need and the want. And here's the other thing too. I think we'd all agree. If a kid comes back and says, I don't want this anymore, that's okay as well. I mean, I'm not saying as a parent you have to sit there and just go, okay, hands up in the air. I mean, you have to have a conversation. But if a kid doesn't want to play anymore and wants to do something else, that's also okay, right? Assuming you've had that conversation, right? This isn't like a one and done type thing of, right after the tryout is not the time to have that conversation. But I love what you're saying here about the want, because it actually leads into a next question here. I'm sure it's going to be part of your answer. The drive needed to succeed in hockey has to be at a pro level, an obsessive level. We ask every NHL player we've had on the show what you believe are the difference makers that allows someone to make the NHL. We know skill is a prerequisite, but this answer always seems to surprise people. What do you think it is? What is the secret sauce? What is the element of making it to the NHL that most people don't see?
Yeah, gosh, good question. I think the one that people should probably hear, and it was this way for me, is luck and stick-to-itiveness. Uh, Lucky, there's a lot of players I think that were very similar to me in talent and work ethic and size and abilities. Again, you get to a spot where everybody's good. Everybody's good.
Right.
What were the differentiators? At times it was luck, and other times it was stick-to-itiveness. And that isn't having the best toe drag, having the best shot, being the fastest skater. It was staying in the game, staying in the fight long enough, mentally being strong enough to say, okay, I'm going to work, or take the next opportunity that's given to you, not be exclusive and take it with positivity. But uh, if I, just from my high school buddies, if I were to say what differentiated me from them, it was luck. And yeah, at times there were little factors like, was I an inch or two taller than somebody? Yeah, maybe. Um, I do think that you're spot on, Lee. The want is there. Like if you look, my nose is crooked for a reason. I'm willing to put my face in front of somebody's hand, just to be able to play the game. You know, I loved it that much, and everybody's motivated by different things too, right? Like and sometimes you can't pick or manufacture these things. I had two sisters. My parents were divorced, so one of my houses was all ladies. I worked my butt off to be able to go to the locker room and hang out with a bunch of dudes. That's what I wanted. Yeah, so everybody's motivators are different, but and that was one that was important to me, is just find a way to continue to hang out with these guys that you enjoy spending time with. And so I think for me, those were probably the couple, is just a willing to sacrifice whatever it takes for an opportunity, some luck to be able to get these opportunities, and then some stick-to-itiveness when you didn't succeed right away.
Yeah,
Oh, Ryan, it's more than luck for you. I mean, it's hard work, obviously, and talent. And I would love to hear about your NHL career. What were some of the highlights for you? What were some of those moments that you will always take with you, will never forget?
Well, geez, all of it. There's a big confidence boost, and it took me a while to figure this out, is the feeling of belonging. So you get an opportunity, and I would love for kids to hear this. No matter where your skates are, your boots are, you belong, and you have to play and believe like you belong. And I didn't when I got to the NHL right away. I remember my first game was in a pressure situation, Western Conference Finals with the Ducks, and um, we were playing Detroit, and that was Zetterberg and Lidstrom and Chelios and Datsuk, like the big people, big
yeah.
names. And so I remember I think the vein in my neck was like this, and everybody's like, "You all right, man?" Like I sat next to Timu Solani, and he was At that point in his career, it was the furthest he had been in the playoffs, and it was my first NHL game. And I was like, I don't belong here. Like, this is Team Solani. He's a Hall of Famer. What am I doing here? Do not mess this up for him. That was honestly my mental thought. That was entirely wrong. And that's where I say you got to have good luck. That was the wrong mental state to be in. And I went out first shift, -1. That was it. And I went back and I said, on the bench, I looked around, I was like, this is it. This is pretty sweet. I did it. I played my NHL game, and I got lucky because more followed it and stuck with it and found a way and got more opportunities. So I'll probably always remember some of those lessons. Remember the first game, uh, you know, winning Anaheim, New Jersey, lost in the finals there. There is just something about a collective group kind of coming together um, that sticks with you for a long time. And they really do shape you going forward and change you in those moments.
It's amazing, Ryan, too, because I love that you brought up that story because I'm sure Timo Solani was sitting there going, I'm sitting next to Ryan Carter right now in
Yeah.
the NHL game.
Don't screw it up, kid. Don't screw it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's amazing. I want to ask this too. So what was the process? So you just said that I sat there and you realized you kind of got a little present with, okay, I did it. Can you dive a little bit more into that process? Because I'm sure there's a lot of kids out there that get that negative internal dialogue. Like, and you said you gotta feel like you believe there. Is that a fake it till you make it approach? Is it a choice? Like how did you get yourself to a point of consistency with that? Right. Because I think anybody can, I don't mean you so much, but I think, kids can ride that emotional wave. There's some games you feel like, yeah, I belong here. And some games you don't. So how did you find the consistency in that mentality? Because I believe you to be right. I think that this is a huge part of success is knowing, not kind of hoping, knowing you belong someplace.
Slow cooker is the honest truth.
Yeah.
Slow cooker, because I was never like not almost not until I was in the NHL did I jump or try to skip a grade, so to speak, to be able to be a better player. I was always able to play in certain roles and be an impact player at every level I was at until I got to the NHL. And I don't think that I was mentally prepared for that. I sometimes now, in hindsight, wish I would have set goals mentally differently. And I think I gave myself a glass ceiling. So I listened to the people when I was younger, the coaches and everybody I trusted that said, make sure you pay attention in school and you do all these things. Do you have any idea how hard it is to play college hockey? And you're watching the North Stars, they go away, watching the NHL a little bit on ESPN growing up, and it was, you have any idea how hard it is to play in the NHL? Little Ryan, fourth grader, is saying, what do you want to be when you grow up? Firefighter? No. Police officer? No. Hockey player? Yes. Right. And it's just be careful because your dreams could be shattered. So I always put the NHL and probably being the best possible version of me kind of on a back burner. Didn't know or believe it was true because I was like, why could that happen to me? I didn't know. I didn't think about that. I didn't believe. So um, I think if kids hear that, if they hear they can be the best, you not only can be great at this game, you can actually be the best. And I learned this playing with Marty Brodeur. He was different. He was built different. He didn't just want to play in the NHL. He wanted to be the best that ever played in the NHL. And what's amazing is my brain had never thought that once ever.
Hmm.
And I'm not saying I would have been the best that ever played in the NHL, but I can tell you wholeheartedly, I had zero chance because I never thought it and I never believed it. And Marty Brodeur, he believed it and he worked for it and he played for it. And the guy was not perfect. I scored my first NHL goal against Marty Brodeur. I go end up playing against him. I say, hey, Marty, yeah. You remember this one? I got my first NHL goal for you. He goes, nobody. If I ever remembered the first goal that people scored on me, I'd have nothing else to remember. It'd fill my memories. And basically what he's saying is like, I've given up so many goals and so many people have scored on me that no, I don't remember that. But I do remember my successes. And he just kept going, kept saying, give me the net, give me the net. I want it, I want it, I want it. He didn't worry about the things that stopped him from getting to where he wanted to be. He worried about the things that got him what he wanted, which is to be the best. And I never set that goal. And to any young player, I would say set the loftiest goals that you possibly can. Tell yourself you're the greatest that could ever play this game. Because even if you fail at that goal, I think you reach your floor there is higher than your ceiling if you don't set those goals.
Yeah, I mean and I mean I mean that in itself, right? It's just something that every, you know, 15-year-old in the world right now, is playing a sport can write down in their journal and just understand that if you don't think you can be it, you just won't. Like it's impossible to get there. And you mentioned a little earlier, you're doing you're in school and you're writing down like who might want to be? I want to be an hockey player. So I think at some point you probably didn't write, I want to be a broadcaster and I want to work with other students as a mentor. But in every NHL player has to transition, and obviously you've made this transition very successful. From player now to media personality and mentorship coach. Can you just talk a little bit about what drove you to go this route, and what are some of the things that enabled you and prepared you for what you're doing right now?
Yeah, great question. Did I want to be a broadcaster? No, never. Never even thought about it, but here we are. So I don't mean to debunk my last point, but here,
You never
here,
dreamed it, but hey, you know what? It came along the way, so you found it.
here we are. And it was
Yeah.
motivated by fear to not be in the game. But the way that I had to play was I had to be all in on plan A. And so I never accepted plan B. And forgive me if any of the listeners have had this mental thought before, but I think it was after like my first or second year in the NHL because I had left college after 2 years. I started to take classes again, and I was focused on that and getting myself ready for life after hockey. And I was spending time doing that. And then one day it kind of hit me, and it was like, talking to myself, I was like, Ryan, you accepting failure on plan A is leading to your failure at plan A. Creating a plan B is going to be the undoing of plan A because you're going to settle for something. Like if I'm wholeheartedly desperate and chasing this, I'll be willing to do anything to get it because I don't have a second option. I have a better opportunity of getting plan A. So I stopped going back to school. And I was like, I'm a hockey player. I'm going to find a way to be a hockey player. And that's the way it worked for me. And I stuck with that mentality and was able to play on that for a while, 10 years. And then once I got to 35 and the body was worn down and it was like, you know what, I've got a family, we can't move around. I have other things I love more than the game of hockey. It was like, what should I do now? And it was actually scary at 35. I had no idea. I remember asking like people around and people in the business world, what are your skills? I was like, what are my skills? Well, I can skate good, I can shoot, I can forecheck. And they're like, what do you want to do? And I'd be like, I want to be 10 years younger and go play hockey again. That's what I want to do. And I think just over time, being in a locker room and being the guy that kind of had to be a certain way and a certain support piece at times helped me be a decent communicator in the locker room and through interviews and different things. And that led to when I was done playing Minnesota, the Wild needed some help in the broadcast booth. And they're like, hey, you were always good on these interviews and you were always thoughtful. You were always a great teammate. Would you be interested in trying something like this and trying TV? And I was like, no. And then I went home and was like, Ryan, this is the same thing like when you were playing. What would happen if you said no to opportunity when you were playing? So I went back and was like, actually, yeah, if it's still there, I'll try it. And it turns out it's nice to be around the game of hockey. It's all I know. And my skills are forechecking, shooting, skating, and enjoying the game of hockey, being able to talk about
And
it.
adding perspective to the game. That is huge. And as a broadcaster, you can add so much credibility to what you're saying because you've been there, you've experienced it. And I know the audience can definitely appreciate that. So, no, that's a gift.
Yeah, thank you. Thank
Well,
you.
and I'll add on to that. I'm very intrigued I want to again pull the thread on this about plan A versus plan B, because in the way you just described it, you're actually still on plan A, right?
Yeah.
Now you again, kids, and we always joke about this. You don't have to worry about this if you're young. Happens to all of us. At some point, the body can't compete at the level you want anymore. But your plan A continued plan A, in that all of your focus on the game. And again, we got to say this for the audience. This is whatever you're obsessed with. This is whatever your dream is, right? Whether it's hockey or something else. Your continued work on that, and I don't know what you were studying, buddy, at school, opened the door for you to continue in this game. Now, listen, all four of us here on the show are still doing that. So it's amazing that sticking to plan A, staying involved, staying focused, everything we've been talking about so far, kids, it will open doors. Parents, it will open doors you never even thought of. Ryan, it's funny. Again, you and I are the same age. Some of the parallels here freak me out a little bit, because I remember when I was in college, my coach came up to me one time. He goes, I think you're going to be a coach. I see coach in you. And I went, no, I am a hockey player. I am not a coach. And that is how I'm most known today is coach. I think more people call me coach than my first name. So it's one of those things of, you don't necessarily need to see the future or even look that far ahead, kids. You can stay present, stay where you're at. But I love it. Plan A, you are still on plan A. And I think it's important that everybody hears that. You're not done with hockey, or hockey's not done with you, however you want to look at it. And here you are still on that path, right? So again, there's not really a question in there, but I wonder if we could just explore that result, because you still love it. You're still involved with it. Again, you're, and this will lead to something we're going to talk about in a minute. You're on the air with the Wild. You're on a podcast talking hockey, and you're a performance. You're partner of a performance center in which you're teaching hockey to younger kids. So you're still on the path, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. You're absolutely right. And now, full disclosure, I don't want to say everybody should drop out of school and chase
Yeah,
their passions.
agreed.
So I will
Yeah.
say, and I don't mean to pat myself on the back. I had committed to myself when I decided to stop studying while playing in the NHL that I was going to finish my schooling. And after I got done playing, it was right away next semester, boom. So I ended up finishing school, and it was great because I got to graduate. My kids were there, and they're like, "Dad, your hat is really funny, and your gown looks silly," But
Right.
so the education was important, and I did have to use some of that and learn some things going back to school and to be able to apply that to broadcasting. But you're absolutely right. I found like a family, and I think people will be able to relate to this in the game of hockey and the people around hockey. And I wanted to be around it. And anybody that has any type of relationship, you do need to work at it. You need to sacrifice for it, and it's a two-way street. So me to be in the hockey family, I needed to change a little bit and work on myself a little bit to be able to stay in and be a part of the family and stay in communication with the game. And that's something that I was absolutely willing to do, and now enjoying that. So I think that's one way to look at it.
You're Ryan.
Also, Ryan. Oh, go ahead.
Good. No, go, Chrissy.
I was curious about ETS Performance too. If you could fill us in on what that does, how it helps mentor young athletes, and it's over 20 states. Is that correct? That you're
Yeah,
outreaching. That's amazing.
yeah, it's a sport performance, and so I started training there at the end of my career. I feel that it gave me a couple extra years. I trained a certain way, and Lee, we're the same age, so you'd be on the same path where I was teenager, and they're like, you got to start working out, and it started to enter the game, and we would just go under the bench press and just bench press as much as we could, and the squat rack and squat as much as we could, and that stuff made us stronger and it had an impact. But sports science had evolved, and in some ways, halfway through my NHL career, I was still kind of stuck mentally doing the things that I was doing as a teenager because I felt that that's what I needed to do. And then I met Ryan Engelbert, and the guys at ETS. Well, actually, at that time, it was just Ryan Engelbert, and he had started ETS Performance, and he had new systems of training and training the body. And I jumped in with both feet and felt great. And it gave me a fresh outlook on the off-season workout. There's an excitement for it. I saw results in my body and my abilities, even though I was probably on the back nine of my career. I was able to do things I wasn't able to do when I was younger. And um, the culture that was created there was something that I bought into. I enjoyed. I liked being there. I wanted to be at the gym versus being at the gym looking at my watch, being like, is it an hour yet? Can I go? And so we had some talks, Ryan and I and a couple others, and boom, it went to 2 gyms and then 3 and then 4 and 10, 15, 20, and all in the name of trying to create an environment for kids where they can not only get better, but they're comfortable and desire to be at the culture at the gym, working together to be the best version of themselves. And that's the opportunity we're trying to provide some of these young athletes.
And again, I gotta add in, right? Just for context, when you and I were kids, the standard was 6'5", 220. 6'5",
Yeah.
220, you get to the league, right? And it is amazing how that has evolved, to your point, over time. Like when you joined the league, things were starting to change. And I'm sure when you left, I mean, if you put a 1995 NHL player next to a 2025 NHL player, completely different athletic build. Like it would shock you at home how different they look. And I love that you brought up the advancements in sports science, because it can really help kids today above a certain age, right? I always say kids should not probably be doing anything with weights until 13, 14 years old. You can agree or disagree with me on that. But the good education on what you can do with your body today will not only help you be stronger and faster, but it will elongate how long you can do it for. As you said, on the back nine, especially.
Yeah, and you're right, Lee. And ETS has the same philosophy there, and we do have programs for kids that are younger than 13 because they have to have body weight strength and mobility. And the great thing about ETS is that it's not sport specific. It's not hockey training,
Right.
and sometimes the whole goal is we're not training a hockey player. We're training an athlete. So you have to have athletic movements. And if I go on a filibuster about this, I would say that as a hockey player, when you're 14 years old, the game is much more it's less explosive than it is at the NHL level, and it's less athletic, and the abilities are not quite there. Those are developed over time. And you have to find ways early on in your development path to be able to create these athletic movements, the explosiveness and all the things that you need. And it can't just be, I'm gonna start at the goal line and I'm gonna work on my starts and take 6 hard strides as fast as I can right now. That's not it. All of a sudden, you need to be able to go 6 hard strides fast, stop, pivot, open your hips, go the other way, and reach your stick in a certain spot. So you have to create all these strengths and these mobilities. And sometimes I get fearful because kids, you see overuse injury in kids quite a bit now because they use the same muscle movements and patterns. And then once they're put in an environment where they have to make an athletic move that they're not used to, or because they've gone to the next level and the athletes are bigger, faster, stronger, they make a move or they extend their body and they're exposed and they get hurt. And these, for me, are byproducts of just not training the entire body and the athletic movement through their entire range. And ETS develops systems to help not a hockey player be a hockey player, but for a kid to be a good athlete with foundational strength and mobility. And we stand by that wholeheartedly. And ETS isn't just for a single athlete. We'll have baseball players, football players, hockey players, volleyball players all in there at the same time working on custom workouts, but all in the same name, being the best athlete and creating athletic power.
I just I just saw some. It was a Minnesota Wild social media post. I think one of your somebody in the on the social media team did like those little pre-practice interviews with the guys, and they're walking out, and the question was, if you were more athletic, what sport would you play? And watching, and I thought it was the funny when you see the guy's faces like, more athletic, like what do you mean, like more athletic than an NHL hockey player? So
Right.
I thought it was a really great insight as to the players, like thinking like, I am a great athlete, that's what I do. So I think you mentioned a little earlier, the us looking at as athletes, and you're working out and you're looking at your watch and like, oh, is this almost over yet? Can you talk a little bit about, not only ETS and but overall philosophy of, training these athletes, the balance between, hey, you got to put your time in and you got to make it fun. You have to want players and early players, like 7 and 8 year olds with functional movement, have to love going there, right? So what are you doing differently or the same that is enticing players to want to come to work out, want to come to the gym, and then in the, Lee says it a lot, right? That we're hiding the broccoli and the shake a little bit, like hide the good stuff. Like, how are you doing that in your workouts?
Yeah, good question. I want to go back to the quick snippet from the Minnesota Wild on how to ask an athlete, because I think you're absolutely right. Uh, Hockey players believe it's the most athletic sport there is because you have to have we've all heard Brian Burke and the whole new mode of transportation. Like no other sport do you have to learn to transport yourself before you start the motor skills. So I think the hockey players, if you guys haven't seen it, they were all stumped. Like, how do you get a hockey player stumped? Ask them if they were more athletic. They're like, I don't think I can be, so good one.
It was great.
But with the culture at ETS and how to hide it, or how to hide the broccoli, so to speak. I'll give you a quote. And you guys are going to have all mine by the end of this. I think it's not, and for burnout, and I want parents to hear this too. Actually, it's not about the time you put into work. It's about the work you put into your time. So you have to be there. If like the workout doesn't have to be 3-4 hours, like you exhaust your body. Go there with intention and work out, and be accountable for your time while you're there. So when you walk into an ETS gym, you're greeted into a vestibule, and you drop your clothes, you drop your stuff, and then you walk into another spot and the door closes. Now you're on an island. You are in the gym. The parents aren't there. Nobody's watching. Nobody's holding you accountable other than yourself. You're being encouraged by the director, and you're almost like fitting into the pack. You see everybody else working out. There's dedication, and you're like, you just naturally conform to that. And that's what ETS's probably secret sauce is just like when you walk into that second door, it's like a privilege, and then boom, nobody's watching you. Like, you don't have to do that extra set for mom and dad or anybody else. You do it only for you. You do it with the group there because you see it, you're motivated. The music's going, the directors are great. But there's really a culture of you being you, and we use iron sharpens iron on the wall. And I think that's for me probably the two biggest things is you don't have to go work out for 3 or 4 hours at the local Lifetime gym and um, do all these things. You can go for 60 minutes, put in great work, and be intentional about it, and be in an environment that you like, come out of it feeling positive, and the kids see results and they're like, Mom, Dad, we want to go back. We want to go back. And it's fun to see.
Yeah, I think you've hit on it right there, Ryan, is putting them in the right environment, having that right culture, and that can help develop the right mindset. I'm sure you've seen that as a result.
Yeah, we have, and there's been great demand for the gyms, um and we get great feedback from the athletes on enjoying being there, and there could be more rapid growth with more gyms and more locations and helping more kids, but there's a desire to maintain a quality of the product and the experience for the athlete, to where we're not willing to sacrifice, hey, let's go massive growth and just pop up new gyms. No, like, we want all the kids to feel these things, and um, to almost have word of mouth be what drives demand for ETS and the desire for kids to be there. And I think it's something we take great pride in.
Well, I want to say this too, Ryan. One of the things that you talk about, and this is something we are all a proponent of, not just in the gym, but on the ice, wherever, is you're talking a little bit about the why, the application of this is what we're going to work on and why. And I think that is missing heavily at practices. I think it's missing in the gym. And like you said, I remember Schwarzenegger had this great quote one time about, he's like, when I'm working out my bicep, I'm in my bicep mentally. And I remember, like, when you really understand what he means by that, you can start to see, like, he is so focused on that muscle when he's working it, like, he's obsessed with it. And there's a why there. He understands what he's trying to do. So when your kids start getting in the gym, like Ryan's saying, there's got to be a purpose for being in the gym that's a little more than just, I want to be strong. Like, that's like me asking the kids, what do you want to do? We want to win. Everybody wants to win. I've never asked that question. Someone said, I want to lose. Right. So the purpose and what are we working on and the focus, same thing with drills and hockey. If you just do the drills and don't explain the application, kids are just going to do the drills and they're not going to retain much. They're just going to do it because you told them to do it. All right. You tell a kid to do squats, Ryan, like we had to do 1,000 squats, right? Yeah, you're going to do it. But why are we doing it? What's the application? And I think that's what you and your system does so well, is that you explain that and then the environment is everything. Last night my son had a game. I'm not a coach. I've started to step away from coaching my son's team. He's getting older on purpose. And, I was asked, well, do you see what he's doing this? Do you see what he's doing there? I said, yeah, you should probably be working on this. And someone said, why don't you go tell him? I said, I'm not the coach of the team. I'm not going to go shout over the glass what he should be doing. Like, he has to figure this out. If he asks me after, I will gladly tell him. But that's the other thing too, is I don't even volunteer it. Like you said, just rounding this episode out, there's got to be a want. If my kid or any kid is yearning for that answer, that knowledge, that extra bit, the why, that kid is going to find success in life. Again, I'm not even just talking hockey. That curiosity is everything. But Ryan, listen, we're getting a little short on time. I got to ask you this. You mentioned parents and taking the kids out of the environment where the parents are. Let's talk about parents real quick, who, volunteer all this time. They're investing heavily. What is your message to them? Right? Because we're saying a lot of things of like, we got to take your kids into a certain environment and your kids got to want it. And you have very little control over this, right? What's your message to the parents of youth hockey players today?
Oh boy, yeah, good
No
one.
pressure on that, by the way.
Yeah, hot button issue because it's a love hate. I am both a hockey parent,
Right.
coach, so I'm on both sides of it. I would
Ryan,
say
how old are your kids? Just so that we can see if we can relate to where you are as a hockey parent.
13, 11, 9, all girls.
Boy. Okay.
Yeah, all girls.
Yeah, he's in it now.
Yeah, we're in it. I would say like just continue to foster positivity, and that goes such a long way. Like I'll have conversations in the car too where it's and sometimes like I'm a parent too, and your kids just have to vent. So and so didn't get me the puck. Did you see that play? This and that. And the question is instead like, what could you have done to make their job a little bit easier? Or if you start to see certain patterns in an individual's play, can you adjust to this? And I think you can help foster a solid team effort. This another thing, and super important is your kid won't and can't be their best unless they are part of like the best that team can possibly be. Like high tide raises all ships.
Mm-hmm.
So as a parent, you're like, yes, I'm trying to create a good individual that wants more opportunity and wants the puck more and wants power play and what's the right way to get it. And it's actually to be the best possible teammate that you can. And to realize that I actually can't score that goal late in the game without the other 4 or 5 people on the ice or without the other teammates that wore the D down. And once parents start to recognize that if they can empower in the conversations in the car or wherever this might be, the team and how important it is to be a member of the team, and that you're not and will never be your best without the best from the team, then I think your player starts to understand where priorities lie. And it's not about me, it's about us. And then they start to figure out how do I help be better here? And I think that parents probably need to hear that more. It's not, hey, when you saw this, take that puck and go, or do this and do that. It's not individual based. It should all be team based. And the other thing I'd say to parents, lastly, before I get off this filibuster, is probably trust the coach. I coach. I I I love all these kids equally, but they are all different,
Mm.
and I'm motivating them all differently. And just because this person, player A, has a different job, path, responsibility than player B, I'm trying to teach them something, and I'm communicating it with them, and they know that. And as a coach, and I know not all coaches are like this, and I'm not pumping my own tire. I'm accountable. If I say, if you do something, I'll give you what I said I'll give you. And with that, we start to see growth in them. But I think you have to trust the coaches a little bit and trust the process and the path that they're on.
I think you're also giving really great advice to coaches right now. And I've always said that the biggest threat to a hockey team is actually the coach not being accountable, as you just said. So I really love that you brought that up because, most coaches in the lower half of youth hockey are volunteer parents. They're doing the best that they can, but you have to be accountable to your players with what you say, right? Because nothing will destroy a team faster. Ryan, I hate to say this. We're out of time. We're going to get 100 emails about you got to get Ryan Carter back on for a second.
What happened?
Yeah,
I want to hear some more of those inside stories in the NHL. Those are great.
Yeah. Well, Lee, if you would have shortened the intro, we could have got.
No. We don't shorten the intros for people like you, but you earned every inch of that intro. But no, Ryan, listen, sincerely, thank you for joining us on this episode today. You just dropped a lot of gold on here. And again, we always say this audience is hungry. We talk about the want. This is the audience that wants that stuff. So thank you so much for bringing it today on the show.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate you guys having me. This is fun. And I'm passionate about hockey, passionate about my kids, passionate about youth hockey. So appreciate you guys giving me the opportunity to chat with you guys and learn from you on it too.
No, thank you. And be careful what you wish for, because we are gonna get you back on here.
Yes, we will.
That's gonna do it for this edition of Our Kids Play Hockey. For Ryan Carter, Christy Casciano Burns, and Mike Benelli, I'm Lee Elias. Remember, if you have any questions, email us, team@ourkidsplayhockey.com, or click the link in this episode accompanied in the description, and you can text us. You put your name and where you're from. We love getting questions from you. But that's gonna do it, my friends. Enjoy your hockey. Enjoy your day. We'll see you on the next Our Kids Play Hockey. Take care, everybody. We hope you enjoyed this edition of Our Kids Play Hockey. Make sure to like and subscribe right now if you found value wherever you're listening, whether it's a podcast network, a social media network, or our website, ourkidsplayhockey.com. Also, make sure to check out our children's book, When Hockey Stops, at whenhockeystops.com. It's a book that helps children deal with adversity in the game and in life. We're very proud of it. But thanks so much for listening to this edition of Our Kids Play Hockey, and we'll see you on the next episode.